The video game industry has always been a place of rapid change, and unfortunately for us, usually not for the better. And I think that's what we're going to be seeing right now with what I would argue is the inevitable end of Xbox. Because I think not the Xbox brand, but the Xbox console end is near. And that comes, I already believed that for a while now. It was something that I'd been thinking about for a bit in that video where I talked about how physical game media is coming to an end and how their plan is already working too well. This was part of it. Xbox going into a complete subscription model. Now, in that video I discussed having an Xbox console with a subscription and how pointless that console might become if all it is a subscription service type deal. And now it seems like that's becoming more and more true if this is all about to play out. Because there have been reports that Gears of War, Starfield, the new Indiana Jones game, and even Halo might find its way onto the PlayStation platform. Now, on paper, right away, just like with the whole Activision Blizzard acquisition, on paper, right away in the immediate future, that sounds like a great thing. That sounds like a wonderful thing. Exclusives are anti-consumer and terrible for all of us. However, when you take away the reason to own an Xbox and suddenly all the games are everywhere, now you kind of start wondering, well, why does this console even need to exist to begin with? And that's what Microsoft might be thinking. Microsoft might be sitting there going, we're making so much on Game Pass, but we're getting outsold 3-1. We're not making a lot on the system itself. We are making some on the accessories. However, PlayStation has this massive market of people that we can't reach with our first-party exclusives. We cannot sell to these people. What is going to make Microsoft more money? Is it going to be trying to bring people over to Xbox by having a couple of first-party exclusives that are honestly, they're okay. They're okay at this point. Halo is not amazing. It's not a blockbuster anymore. Gears of War is not what it used to be, okay? There are definitely people still excited about both of those franchises. I still love Halo, but it is a shadow of its former self. And I feel like most people can agree with that. Starfield was not the giant first-party exclusive they hoped it would be. It was another Bethesda game for people that liked Bethesda games. And even people that like Bethesda games are like, hey, I've seen this already. It's just now it's in space. And people are tired of it. So it wasn't the system seller they thought it was. And because of that, they're looking at this untapped market that they can't touch until now, if they decide that no longer do they care about the Xbox system. And I think that's what's going on. They have noticed that, hey, there's just money that we're leaving on the table over here, and we are not seeing a change in the percentages here of market share and of consoles. PlayStation's kick on our ass. Let's go make money over there. They have the console already. They've made their decision. Let's make money from them. And you know what? Sony is going to be freaking happy. They're going to be so happy that they don't have to worry about losing Call of Duty anymore. They're going to be happy that the Activision Blizzard deal genuinely didn't do anything for them, except for now Microsoft is on the receiving end of the profits instead of Activision Blizzard. But they don't care about that. As long as they're getting their cut, that's all that matters. And that's what they're going to be getting. They're going to be getting the entire pie. And that's terrifying. That's why this is a bad thing. Immediately, this is great. No more exclusives. Wonderful. That's great. Everybody has access to everything. Unless you own an Xbox right now, then you can't play PlayStation games. They still have exclusives, which again makes them the console to own. If you want any of those exclusives, you just own a PlayStation. Because now what are you missing out on? If they bring Forza, Gears of War, Halo, Starfield, every Activision Blizzard game over, every Bethesda game over, what's left on the Xbox that makes it the reason to own it? And the thing is when there's no more options, PlayStation can do whatever they want. Sony can make the PlayStation the most anti-consumer thing in the world. And they've already wanted to do this in the past. This is not something that some fanboy is coming out and saying. I think there should be competition in everything, and the lack of competition only drives greed. And that is what we've seen with PlayStation in the past. That's what we've seen with Microsoft in the past. When they were winning the 360 era, they didn't want crossplay. And now PlayStation was winning, we saw them, they did not want crossplay. So what are we going to see when there is no threat of competition? What are we going to see when PlayStation is the only dog on the block? Because Nintendo is not competing with PlayStation or Microsoft. They're just not. Nintendo is doing their own thing, and Sony and Microsoft are trying to compete head-to-head for the older aged market and the mainstream market of AAA games. Whereas Nintendo over here, they're doing their own thing. They're successful in their own games. They have so many of their own IPs. They don't even have to think about these guys. And the thing is with the Switch, they don't care that this is the secondary system for a lot of people. They don't care if Microsoft and PlayStation over there are trying to fight for like the main home console, because they know that a lot of people are going to get this as a secondary system because they have to get this to play their games. Which then goes back to the point where if Microsoft has no games, why does it exist? Xbox doesn't need to exist, and it will simply function as a subscription service. We are going to see Xbox turn from a physical console into a subscription service, and that's going to be the end of the Microsoft console. Now, that's not saying that they're not going to create any console at all. They might have some sort of cheap Xbox Series S type device out there as an option for people that just want Game Pass and don't care about PlayStation exclusives. It's going to be a very cheap system, very affordable, very easy to get people into that ecosystem. So they still have a small ecosystem. What they're going to try to do is essentially emulate the Nintendo way of thinking. They don't mind being the secondary system or the budget option. However, unlike Nintendo, Microsoft is not going to have any system sellers. They're not going to have any games that are only on that system. So even the Series S is going to be kind of a pointless thing to exist unless you really want a cheap secondary console and you really like that Xbox controller. You really like achievements. You don't want to lose all that. You don't want to lose all your digital purchases. But that's about it. Beyond that, I don't see how the console can survive, and I don't think that Microsoft cares. And I don't think Microsoft cares what Sony does that's anti-consumer in their platform, because, again, the only reason they ever cared about being pro-customer, pro-consumer is because they were trying to compete. That's it. Do you remember when they tried to make Xbox Live $120? But then they had that massive pushback? Well, if they were the only system out there, who cares what kind of massive pushback they get? Because we're the only people here. You want to play on a high-end gaming console? Well, guess what? This is it. Deal with it. And that's what we're going to see if PlayStation is the only company on the block, the only option. If you want high-end gameplay on a console, you're going to have to go to a PlayStation, and that sucks for everybody. That sucks for everybody. I absolutely hate that this might happen. I'm hoping that this is not what they're planning on doing, but all signs we are seeing right now are leading to exactly that. We've already had Hi-Fi Rush have digital, we've had the leaks of the shirts for Switch and PlayStation. So Hi-Fi Rush is not going to be an Xbox or PC exclusive anymore. It's going to be on everything. And if we're seeing that entire push for Microsoft just being multi-platform, we're going to see them turn into essentially Sega, where they're just putting games on every platform, but they're no longer one of the big three. They're just another games publisher and subscription service. And we're already screaming towards that future that I talked about where you own nothing. And now it just means you're going to be owning nothing on a PlayStation or a Nintendo and not Microsoft. That's just how it is. Maybe we'll see Microsoft in the future come out with PC console-like things like we saw back in the day with like those Steam computers. Those little, what were they? I don't even remember what they were called. It's on the screen. I like both for different reasons. There are things that I love about the Xbox. There are things I like about my PlayStation. I like the choice between these two, and I also like the fact that they both exist and have to compete against each other. And I think the next console generation is gonna be painful. Hell, even the end of this one might be. Because we're what, halfway through this console generation? So we could already see Microsoft pulling back. We're gonna see the market share shift to not 3-1, but like 9-1. And it's gonna be just PlayStation, and that's horrifying. That's absolutely horrifying. I don't like that idea at all. In fact, I have always wanted more console companies to just come out of nowhere. I have been wanting that for a very long time. Back in the day, there were lots of different rumors about different companies coming out with their own consoles. That never happened, but that's what needs to happen again. We need Apple to make a console. We do. As much as I don't really want an Apple console, we need competition. We need big brands to make consoles. They half-heartedly attempted. Amazon made that thing that I don't even remember the name of. Wasn't memorable. It was just a controller. You play wirelessly and you stream it. Google's whatever thing that I don't remember that you play wirelessly and stream it and failed. They never came out with another console. And I understand how difficult that is because you need the buy-in from other companies to start producing games for that system. But it needs to happen. We can't just have PlayStation and Nintendo because Nintendo is not going to be competing with PlayStation and PlayStation's not going to be competing with Nintendo. Unless the next Nintendo is an incredibly powerful system and is not anything like we've seen Nintendo do in the past, it's just not going to happen. They're just not going to compete. They're going to live side by side in their own little worlds, doing whatever they want. And that's terrible. That's terrible for us, all of us. Even if you're a PlayStation fanboy, you should be upset about this. You should, because it's going to affect you negatively. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm looking too far into this news and I'm, worried over nothing. But remember this. How often have we been worried over nothing when it comes to video games? How many things has the game industry tried to pull on us that we had to push back to remove? A lot of people will tell me that, hey, making these videos is just whining and crying over nothing. But if nobody pushed back against loot boxes, they'd still be in everything. If nobody pushed back against those stupid online passes, they'd be in everything. Do you guys remember those? Of course you don't. Because they existed in this little pocket, people got pissed, and it went away. And then my example of Xbox Live going to be $120. We pushed back. We said something. That did something. Saying something does do something. So, share this with everybody you know. Let me know what you think down below. Like the video if you guys liked it. Subscribe for more content. And as always, have a fantastic day. See you, everybody.